what about, but I know you're a human being also. So what about that Sunday morning where you wake up and it's just kind of, I don't know, I'm not feeling particularly well. The attitude is, I think I'll just go back to sleep. And then you don't do it. You actually show up, and then spirit shows up through you. So can you share a little something with people on how you do that?
Well, my way of living, from what I put in my body through meditation, through my exercise programs, it's all a habit that has developed in me. So when I wake up on a Sunday, there's a whole protocol I do with what I'm drinking, what I'm eating, the yoga or the weightlifting that I do, the meditation. By the time I show up at Agape, I've had a whole day, pretty much, of being vibrationally and physically prepared to allow the energy to come through. And so I'm aware that there are moments, it's like my surface mind would be like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just go to the beach, I can see it, but I'm witnessing that thought. So I don't like embrace that. I'm just aware that that's there. And then I still do my inner work. And by the time I show up, as soon as I say, good morning, everyone, then the flow of my connection with the spirit starts. So for instance, I spoke in Chicago a couple of weeks ago at a conference, and I got food poisoning. Mm-hmm. And the day I was supposed to speak. And so I had to speak in the evening. So in the afternoon, I was physically weak. So I asked somebody to take me back to the hotel, and I would obviously have them come pick me up at the time to speak. So I went home. As soon as I walked in my room, I violently vomited. I think everything I'd ever eaten in life came up. And I went to bed, went to sleep, woke up about an hour before, got showered, got dressed. And I'm sitting in the audience, they're getting ready to introduce me. I'm still feeling very weak. I said, I didn't travel all the way to Chicago to not have anything to say, So the moment I got up to speak and I started speaking, the energy started flowing through me. And in the first 5 minutes, my body was healed. Boom, all symptoms were gone. And then it opened up so I could curate what needed to be said for this particular audience. So when I get in the flow like that, I get personally, I get the dose first. It's like, and when I finished speaking, I was no longer sick. It never came back. It just cleaned up everything. So I would say that my spiritual practice of meditation, and then my physical practice of whatever exercise I feel I'm doing on that particular day, and then putting my food in my body, the right food, all plays a part in it. Yeah. And plus as we talked about earlier, my openings that I've had were authentic. It was like, I didn't get it from books, even though I can read books and validate my experience like Walter Russell. It came first from the opening, and then I leaned into it through spiritual practice so I could stabilize it and it won't just be a memory. 13 years ago, I had this experience, it's like the meditation helps stabilize it. And so, that's what happens for me.
Yeah, I just want to really shine a spotlight for everyone on what Michael just said, because this is not luck. It's not just he happens to have a gift and the rest of us don't or something like that. Yes, he has his gift like everyone has this gift. And then it's practice, it's hard work, it's discipline, and then it's showing up. I don't know anyone who is manifesting greatness for whom that is not true. And anyone who's sitting on the couch because you don't think you have that greatness in you, you are sorely mistaken. Give it a shot.
Absolutely. No, you mean that's our main work in our community. The main word, is practice. Do you have a spiritual practice? You can come hear me on Sunday or any of my teachers, but if you leave there and you don't apply it some kind of way, you're just being entertained. And we don't want you to be entertained. We want you to be entrained to a higher frequency through your spiritual practice. And one other thing, when I was integrating this stuff, I turned my garage, this is years ago, I turned my garage into a soundproof room. And I would go in there for hours at a time, Foster, and do inner work on myself. I had mirrors, I had all manner of things where I would look at myself and see where my fears were, see where my insecurities were, and things like that. And I would do hours of inner work to actually embrace those parts of myself and then dissect it and see what lies I was telling myself. And then affirming and praying and doing different exercises to transcend. Even after I had the spiritual awakening, I still have personality and sub-personalities that are operating. And I had to work on that. So it was hours for months and months and months that allowed me to stabilize the higher frequency. So you're right. Nothing, I call luck living under cosmic knowledge. You know, you actually have to create your own luck through your practice.
Well, I've never heard that story before about your garage. And
Yeah.
I've also never shared before publicly that when back in the 70s, when I was fresh out of college and I was doing Aikido and Zen and self-hypnosis, and I had converted a barn where I lived into an Aikido dojo, and I taught classes for the local community. But I finally realized I have my own private padded room. So
That's exactly what I had.
I would go out there and just lose all track of time, and I would be chanting and crying and laughing and dancing. I would spin really fast and then sit down and see if I could let go of my body enough that the spin wouldn't tip me. All those kinds of practices where I was just exploring it on my own. That's fun to hear that you were doing the same.
Yeah, I had mattresses up against the wall and everything. I mean, but it was intense work.
Yes.
And now I see a lot of things that I was doing back then, I see them have moved into society as spiritual practices that people do. I remember one time there was 4 or 5 of us in my garage, and we were chanting and dancing and beating drums. And all of a sudden it started hailing. This is in Los Angeles. It started hailing on the garage in my backyard, only there. I mean, and we came outside and we said, what is this hitting in the ground? And it's snowing, it's hailing. You know, so we had tapped into something.
Apparently, not a lot of hail in Los Angeles, especially local.
Right, it was localized to my backyard. That was cool.